Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news this Tuesday morning, the 17th of January 2023. Lots to get into. We've got developments on a huge new deal for Marcus Rashford. Also a little bit about Declan Rice, the odds on Manchester United, the clarity on this Scott McTominay story we're talking about last night. But a story I really want to get into, which I think is really interesting. I think this is why we have the best community. We've been doing it the longest. We go the deepest. We are the best. That's what she said. But this story won't be picked up by anybody yet. I've not seen anybody pick it up. It's basically why we have such a good community, because we're not journalists, but we take massive interest in the club that we love, and we start digging and we start putting things together and we start go 2 + 2 is Matic. I want to talk about Youssoufa MOUKOKO of Dortmund, because I think there is a possibility for Manchester United to do something there, and this is not speculative. This is our own story. I want to talk about Rashford's deal, of course I do. I want to talk about everything else, but I'm just interested in this. And I want to take you back to what Fabrizio said on the show a couple of weeks ago. He basically said, just keep an eye on MOUKOKO, Dortmund, Manchester United. Not saying it's going to happen. He's out of contract in the summer. He can talk to anybody outside of the Bundesliga now. From January the 1st, he can talk to anybody now. He can agree a deal for the summer. There's an offer on the table for a new contract from Dortmund. So what are Dortmund saying? Well, this is a brand new update from sporting director of Dortmund, Sebastian Kehl, who says Youssoufa MOUKOKO can accept this offer now and commit to Borussia Dortmund, or else there will be a parting of the ways. And he went on to say that the development of MOUKOKO is best served at Dortmund, and they feel that, but obviously it's down to him what he decides to do. Now, yesterday we had very strong connections that Elanga is interesting Borussia Dortmund. If we are in contact with Dortmund for Elanga, this is not like Jadon Sancho, where Dortmund had us by the peanuts. They had us absolutely twisting it. This is a player that Dortmund cannot stop coming to Manchester United, or Arsenal, or Barcelona, or anybody else in the summer. He's out of contract in the summer. He can come. So is there something here? Well, whether there is something or not, it's certainly something Manchester United could do. And I think that we desperately do need a striker. Now, I look at the profile of what we've got, and we've got some quotes from Weghorst to read you a little bit later. You've got Weghorst on loan. He's an experienced striker. He's a target man, not really, but he's big. You know, he's good in the box. He presses from the front. Experience. Martial sort of stuck in between, but can't stay fit. You bring someone like MOUKOKO in. He's young. He's talented. He's developmental. I just think it's a perfect fit for Manchester United. Jordan Davies, welcome to the Members Club. So, I'd agree that many people would say Barcelona will do this deal, and I would agree with you. I would agree with you that Barcelona doing this deal is probably more likely than us. But he perfectly fits what Erik ten Hag wants. Erik ten Hag has wanted a young, developmental striker since he came to Manchester United. He really wanted Brian Brobby, but Brian Brobby had already agreed to go back to Ajax. So he does want that young profile striker. And in MOUKOKO, you could get somebody in January that you get to have a look at, put him on the bench, chuck him in here and there. I think it would be perfect. I think it's too perfect. I think it's absolutely perfect for Manchester United to do a deal with MOUKOKO. Now, it might not be a deal that happens till this summer, in fairness, but you never know. With Elanga, Dortmund, MOUKOKO, Manchester United, I'd say watch this space, because he's definitely up for grabs, and he's definitely a very, very talented player. So let's wait and see. Just a bit of an interesting story to start the show off with, because I don't think anybody will pick up on that for a little bit. And he just fits the profile of what Ten Hag wants. That's the thing for me. MOUKOKO's a really good player, but is he 18? Young striker? I don't think that's what Man City are looking for. I don't think that's what Liverpool are looking for. I don't think it's what Arsenal are looking for. I don't really know that it's what Real Madrid or Barcelona are looking for. I think they want the complete article, whereas I think Ten Hag really does like the idea of going for that, young developmental striker. So look, if Man United had any bloody money, we could probably get it done. But we'll have to wait and see. But certainly, very interesting. We've known about this for a while. He's out of contract in the summer. January the 1st, he can talk to any club outside the Bundesliga. We could pick up the phone to him now and publicly say we're talking to him. It's absolutely legal. So let's see. Somebody's on about MOUKOKO's age. Apparently he's 20, says Andre. Well, it doesn't... It's just, I mean... I think there's a bit of racism around that, to be honest with you, if I'm going to be absolutely blunt on a Tuesday morning. I don't want to go down that road, but, you know, I just think this happens quite a lot with players. Especially, it seems to be, happens a lot in the foreign leagues as well. You get a young black player and people start going on about that they're lying about their age. I've never heard such nonsense in all my life. I've not heard anything about that. And I haven't really heard of a player being like that in the last 10 years. Someone will probably start throwing names at me, but I look at that player and I get angry about this sort of stuff because I look at that player and I go, he is a talented player. Like, he's very talented. And what are we to believe? He's 32. Well, where's, you know, this is high-level football. Dortmund are a developmental football club. I think they'd know if someone they think's 18 is 32 or 22 or something like that. It's ridiculous. But we live in that world, don't we? We live in that world where people start making up these rumours. He is a very talented footballer. Forget his passport. He's a very talented footballer. We got told that Jesse Lingard was a young player at 27. People still think McTominay's a young player at 26. So I don't know why Man United would ever be bothered about passports. You know, we class a young player as someone who came from the youth setup, even if they're touching 30. So look, he's a talented player. I'd like him at Manchester United. And Infinex, it's just a rumour, and that's the dangerous thing about these things, isn't it? He's in trouble at the moment for age fraud, says Ross Knight. Vol, yeah, well, I've not heard anything about that, and it's sad to see all that stuff in the chat because there's no evidence of it, and I live in a society where you're innocent until you're proven guilty anyway. So if we get MOUKOKO, we will still get Osman in the summer, Mark, so fill the Ronaldo and Cavani places, says Hanas. And I think we need to do that. You know, just before I move on, we do need to do that. We need to fill 2 spots. Anyway, let's go to the headline story this morning. It's widely being reported by absolutely everybody. Sources say United are comfortable with Rashford's situation and both parties want a new contract. That's coming in from Samuel Luckhurst in the Manchester Evening News. So, you know, good source on that. Rashford is expected to receive an increase on his £200,000 a week salary, but United are reluctant to break the £300,000 barrier, so one player does not earn significantly more than the others. Well, that's encouraging. You know, I think we've spent. You couldn't write a book. You could write a bloody encyclopedia. You know, shelf. I could fill those shelves behind me on Man United mistakes, but I am the sort of person that, you know, is willing to give people second chances. In this case, it'd be about 20-second chance, but if United are getting serious about contract renewals, I don't agree with a pay ceiling of 200k a week. I think that would destroy the club. You know, you've got to go above 200k a week for some players, and Rashford would certainly fall into that category. But we shouldn't be going above 300k a week. We've not won a title for 10 years. We shouldn't be paying that money. If Real Madrid want to do it, PSG want to do it, Man City want to do it, let them do it. Let players go to those clubs because they're mercenaries, but we shouldn't do it at Manchester United. We're Manchester United. We shouldn't be doing it. I think a 300k a week limit is absolutely spot on, and we never should have gone above it anyway because everybody we've paid over it wasn't worth it. So I think Rashford on a long new deal is a really, really good thing. I wouldn't even do a poll on this because I'd be stunned if anybody had a problem with it. But you might think 300k is a bit too much. Awad says 250 max. The problem you've got with Rashford, and I'll say this right now, the problem that you've got with Marcus Rashford is that Man United probably haven't handled it the way they would want, but they're probably a little bit unlucky because Marcus Rashford is out of contract in just over a year. Next summer, he's out of contract. So, you know, what, 15 months he's out of contract? If we said to Marcus Rashford, we're not giving you any more than 300k a week, and PSG have already said we'll give you 4, he might say, well, I'm not signing a contract if he wants to go. He might do it. Pogba did it. Pogba didn't sign a contract. We actually put a people forget this. We put a contract on the table via Fabrizio Romano confirmed this, that was rumoured to be about 400k a week, and Pogba still said no. Amazing, isn't it? If there's any truth in that. But Rashford could say, I'm not signing a contract for anything less than 350k a week because I can get 400k a week at PSG. So it'll be interesting to see how the negotiations go, because I wouldn't be surprised if Rashford did push it over 350k, because he's in a strong position. And the reason he's in a strong position is it's not United's fault. I'll defend United on this. It's not United's fault that they haven't negotiated a contract before now. Rashford was very, very poor up until this season. So I think United were even thinking in the summer that maybe there will be a parting of the ways, but they certainly weren't going to give him a 400k a week contract or a 300k a week contract, and they were right. But in the last 6 months, Rashford's been sensational, and suddenly Rashford's got all the power because he can say, I've got just over a year left on my deal, I am brilliant, I want 350k a week, and United are stuck in a position where they're like, well, this player's probably worth 100 million. We can't just let him go for nothing because we won't give him an extra 50k a week. So it'd be interesting. I think Rashford's got the power here, and I think it's circumstantial. I don't think United have really got it wrong. I just think it's just the way it is. But the encouraging thing is that, as per that update, is that that both parties are want a new contract. And one thing I've always said about Rashford is, I know there was this story, and it actually came from Samuel Lucas back in April, that his brother, who's I think his agent, had been over to Paris to talk to PSG, which is out of order. Of course it's out of order, but I don't think for 1 minute Marcus Rashford wants to leave Manchester United. And if I was at Manchester United and I was trying to get him to sign a contract for 300k a week, I'd call his bluff. I would. I'd say it's 300. Look, I'd say, Marcus, you're fantastic. You're a fantastic player, and we really want to build the team around you. And Eric loves you, but there are limits. 300k a week is our limit. We can't go above that. You can threaten us, you can say you've got better offers elsewhere. Well done. But we can't give you a bigger contract than that. And I think you'll sign it, because I don't think Rashford wants to go to Paris. I don't think he wants to go to Real Madrid. I certainly don't think he wants to go to Man City or anything like that. I think he'll sign the contract. I'm absolutely certain that Marcus Rashford wants to stay at Manchester United. It's the best place for him. Brand growth, player growth under Ten Hag, it ticks all the boxes. The only reason you would be leaving Manchester United is for money, and I just don't think he would do that. So I think there's a deal that can be done. It's just how brave United want to be. Do they want to say we're not paying any more than 300k a week, or do they want to be, Rashford's got the power, let's give him what he wants? But I don't think Rashford wants to go, so I think we'll be able to get a deal done, quite simply. And I agree with Infinix. If he loves, he will stay. I think he loves it. I think he loves it at Manchester United. And you're going to get negative people like Blind Pink who says brand FFS, but footballers are. Marcus Rashford's the biggest brand at Manchester United, and Manchester United, even under new owners, will be very. It's nothing wrong with being locked in on brand. Brand makes you money. The problem with United under the Glazers is, we've been a commercial club that makes money to go to the Glazers' pocket. If you're a commercial club that, creates money to go into the actual club, there's actually not a lot wrong with that. So, we'll have to wait and see. But, I don't see Rashford going anywhere. And in his current form, the only movement I'm interested in Marcus Rashford at the moment is how much better he can get, because I think he's been fantastic over the last 6 months. So look, for me, it's a positive, and I can't see him leaving at all. But I do think United need to dig in and start being a proper football club, and I think by that, it's right what's happening with De Gea. They want to give him a new contract, but they can't give him a contract on 350k a week. It's right what's happening with Rashford. They want to give him a contract, but they can't start paying stupid wages. And it's not Rashford's fault, by the way. I think it's very, very important to remember this. It's a really important point. If you give Rashford 350k a week, somebody might just say, well, give it him. He's from the youth. He's played well for the last 6 months. He's going to be here till he retires. He's going to break the goal scoring record. Tick, tick, tick. I agree with that. But if you give him 350k a week, and then you want to go and buy the next big thing from, I don't know, Everton, or the next big thing from Sporting Lisbon, or the next big player from Real Madrid, they will go, well, I want 400k, because you gave Rashford the 350k a year ago, and I want 400k, and that's why United want to get it down, because you basically want to have a structure like Liverpool where you say, look, we have a wage structure. It's a good wage structure and you will get a good wage, but we're not going to, just chuck silly wages out anymore. And you can also get a little bit better with incentivization. Win the Premier League and you earn an extra million or whatever. We're not buying anyone. Why do you keep talking about buying players? Says Shadi. Thanks for the update there, mate. Not going to give you any more answer. Madrid have a tier system for wages with the bulk of the squad on tier 2 and 3. A player has to be exceptional to make tier 1. I like that structure as there's no grey area, says Charlie Max. I nearly said something else then. And Mark, let's hope Rashford form does not fall off a cliff once he signs a new contract like Bruno did, says Alistair. Look, we are a democracy. We do discuss different angles, and I was actually on Talk Sport on Saturday night and somebody phoned in and said that they think Rashford's playing well for a new contract. I completely disagree. I don't think that's the case at all, but there are people that might think that. I don't think that. I've spoken about that one. And Mark, let's hope Rashford's form does not fall off a cliff once I've done that one from Alistair as well. So yeah, look, good news. Kieran asks about Sancho. You need to watch the shows, mate. I can't repeat stuff. I know it's there. Go and watch the preview for the Crystal Palace game. It's all in there about Sancho. So, it's not like we're not giving you the news. You're just not watching it. But effectively, Jadon Sancho is not training with the first team yet. So he's not back available to play against Crystal Palace. But, I wouldn't be surprised if he's training with the first team by the end of the week. But I don't want to put any... but it's not even down to me, but I don't want to put any expectations on it. What are your thoughts on De Gea? Will he be getting a new contract in January, says Ianto? Yes, I think David De Gea will sign a new contract. I think 100% that will happen. I think we've got a fantastic goalkeeper there. A massive influence in the team, in the dressing room, on the pitch, who has still got 2-3 years left at the top. I agree we need to bring in a goalkeeper, a developmental goalkeeper next to him. 100% you need to do that. But, we will not have, even with new owners, we're not going to be able to spend £300 million in the summer. And I think to replace De Gea, you're going to have to spend about £60-70 million. Why would you even think about doing that when you need a centre defensive midfielder and a lot of other things as well? So, yeah, I don't envisage David De Gea not signing a new contract, if I'm honest. There's no updates. We get the same questions every day. It's like Slow Sports News. Where are you? Do you wake up? Are you goldfish? Do you wake up and completely forget what we've spoken about yesterday? We spoke about Sancho last night. Every day, any news on the sale? Every day I give you the same update, and every day you don't listen. Manchester United have put it out there that they're not going to assess bids until the middle of February. That's the update on the new owner. We will not hear anything about who is going to be the new owner officially until the back end of February. We spoke about it last week. Slow Sports News, says Gianluca. Yes. I just wanted to bring in, I want to talk about this Declan Rice story. Quite interesting. I want to talk about McTominay as well. But just on the title race, I was driving over to do the Ben Foster show yesterday and had Talk Sport on, and they had some... I don't know what betting company it was, but I don't bet on these sort of things. But I do think you can sometimes learn something from betting odds. So not really with transfers, that can be very unreliable, but you can learn things from certain things like title odds. Man United to win the title are 14-1. 14-1 to win the title, Manchester United. That is big. And... Arsenal are pretty much odds on, but Man United are 14-1, which is big, very, very big. So I'm not saying go and put a bet on. I mean, they're very, very good odds, but what I am saying is that we're still very much considered not to be title contenders. As Catherine says, it's still 14-1 would be classed as highly unlikely then. So, yeah, but those odds can change very, very quickly, as we know, and. As I said, this time next week, if we beat Crystal Palace and we beat Arsenal, and our next Premier League game after that is Crystal Palace at home, I think those odds would drop dramatically. But at the moment, I think, like DJ says, I'll stick a tenner on that. I mean, 140 quid if it happens. But yeah, I think that just makes it there are people out there that think we're in a title race, and technically we probably are, but for me, no, not at the moment. I'm still absolutely focused and excited if we can get top 4. Anyway, I wanted to bring another story in about the midfield situation. So last night on the preview, we were talking about Scott McTominay and the likelihood of him actually leaving in January, which I think is 0. But what hopes if none of the bids exceed 6 billion, says JC. I don't want to talk about it, mate. I can't keep talking about the sale of Manchester United when there's nothing to add to it. And that's not me being moody in the morning. I've been out in the garden in the frost kicking a ball about and feel very fresh and happy this morning. But I can't start talking about hypothetical sales of the club when the update is they're not giving us an update until the middle of February. So I just can't. I can't give you anything about it at the moment. I'm sorry. McTominay plays for the badge, mate, says KD. What does that mean? What does that mean? So are we Manchester United or are we Stoke? Are we going to value players because they play for the badge? Because I tell you what, put me in a Man United shirt against Crystal Palace on Wednesday night and I'll play for the badge. I'll be absolutely shit. What has Ten Hag taught us? It's not just, yes, you must play for the badge, but you must also be good enough. And I don't think we have been good enough, in recent years. And now we've got a manager that demands those sort of things. I think that's really important. You've made me lose my mind. McTominay. The McTominay story is true. It's absolutely true. There are a couple of Premier League clubs who would buy Scott McTominay in January. He would be considered a player that they would really like to bring in for about 30 million quid. That might be exciting to some people, but Man United are not willing to sell in January because it's how would they replace Scott McTominay in January. So they're not looking to do it at the moment. It's interesting. I quite like the fact that there are people interested in him. Sean from Ireland says Rice to Newcastle in the summer if they get top 4. Yeah, well, I'm going to talk about Declan Rice now, actually. So the McTominay story it's a midfielder. Arsenal have now declared their interest in Declan Rice. There was a lot of stories about it yesterday from pretty credible places that Arsenal have declared their interest in Declan Rice. That is interesting, of course. Manchester United have always been very interested in Declan Rice. Chelsea are very interested in Declan Rice. And now Arsenal are very interested in Declan Rice. It poses the question, will Manchester United be in that race? And I wouldn't get into it. I really wouldn't. I'm surprised that, officially we don't know whether Arsenal are in the race or not, but I personally wouldn't be getting into that race. We know what Chelsea are like when they want a player, and why waste your time getting involved in it? So I wouldn't do that, if I'm absolutely honest. I would steer clear of that. I like Declan Rice, and if United could get Declan Rice for about 70 million quid, I think it's a decent deal, but I wouldn't be looking to do that. I don't know what everyone else thinks, but I wouldn't be looking to do that because we're going into a summer where I also think he's absolutely obsessed with going to Chelsea, and I've said that a lot, but we're going into a summer where Enzo Fernandez, Jude Bellingham, maybe Caicedo, and maybe Frankie de Jong are up for grabs. And whilst I wouldn't put Declan Rice bottom out of those 4 players, I certainly would want 3 players ahead of Declan, who I like. I like Declan Rice, and I think he will surprise a lot of people when he does go to a club like a Chelsea or an Arsenal or a Manchester United. But for me, he's not the only bag of crisps in the cupboard. There are other, should have said bag of rice, but he's not. There are other options out there, and that for me is why I wouldn't go for Rice, because I think he's going to be as expensive, probably more expensive. That's the problem. I think Declan Rice is a good player, but he's probably going to be more expensive than De Jong, more expensive than Caicedo, and around the same as Enzo Fernandez. He probably won't be as much as Jude Bellingham, but not far off. So I think I think there's better options for Manchester United. The Zer says you've got Casemiro already. No, that's not our problem, mate. We need more than Casemiro. 100% we need more than Casemiro. But yeah, I think that for me, it's certainly a player that would massively improve Manchester United. I don't think there's any doubt there that Declan Rice would improve Manchester United, but it's a player for me that I would avoid going for because I feel that there are better options out there. And I'm trying to word it in a way that, you never know where these things are going to end up. And I like Declan Rice. I think he's a really good player, and I think he'd do a good job at Manchester United. Does the English thing bother me? No, because Luke Shaw's English and he's fantastic, and Marcus Rashford's English and he's fantastic, and I hope Jadon Sancho's going to be fantastic and he's English as well. I do think under Solskjaer there was a bit of an English problem, or a British problem. The leadership model was English. You've got Maguire in the team, Wan-Bissaka, Luke Shaw, Marcus Rashford. It felt like we were going. Ollie openly, it's not. I've not got a problem with those players. Ollie openly put it out there publicly that he was trying to build a British core of around Man United. I don't know why he wanted to do that, by the way. I don't remember Man United ever doing that. We've had a lot of English players. It's gradually declined over the years because that's what the Premier League is. And of course, if you go back to the early stage of the Premier League, the team was predominantly British, and it gradually went. But our key leadership players predominantly haven't been British, so we don't need to go British. I don't think we need to do that. So, but that wouldn't be the reason I wouldn't go for Scott McTominay. That's not the reason I wouldn't go for Declan Rice. The reason I wouldn't go for Declan Rice is because I think Enzo Fernandez, Jude Bellingham, Frankie de Jong are all better options for United, and also Caicedo could be a better option than Rice because he'd be half the price. So I think Rice is a good player, but there are 2 or 3 players that are better, and his price is off-putting as well. And also, he wants to go to Chelsea. He's always wanted to go to Chelsea, and Chelsea like him. So, hi Mark, off topic. So really, what I'm saying is, if Arsenal are going for Declan Rice, let them go for Declan Rice. I would say, let them go for Declan Rice. And I think that was what a lot of people were talking about last night. Will we get in the race for Rice? And I'm like, we might. He's a very good player, but I personally would let them have that race. Hi Mark, off topic, but how much do you pay in England for a ticket to the Carabao Cup final? I'm from Sweden, and the cheapest I can find is around 500. Antonio, I don't know, mate. I don't know. I sort of know what you pay for a United ticket. If it's a genuine ticket, or if you get it off a tout or whatever it is. But I've got no idea when it comes to cup finals. I tell you what, I can't really say what it is, but you've got to keep watching the United stand for the next 2 weeks. Got some really exciting news. I can't wait to share it. Sort of got some confirmation on it last night, so really, really excited. It's a community thing. We're not about to go and sign bloody Enzo Fernandez in the next 2 weeks. It's not a signing, so I just want to say that. It's to do with the United stand, but very excited about it. So keep watching. You want to be watching because you might be very interested in it. Rafael Leao and Bellingham plus Kane summer signings would be massive, says Ahmad. And any of the midfielders you mentioned will improve us. What we don't need is a costly bidding war that Chelsea will bring for Rice. Great show, says Dillino. Yeah. What you don't want to do is try and buy a player that Chelsea wants at the moment. Chelsea fans can take that as a compliment, or they can take it as ridicule. But either way, they both points stand firm. We don't want to be in a bidding war with Chelsea. Nobody does. The news would be applicable to the international community. Yes, it would, Vikram. Yes, it would. Does Chelsea not have to abide by financial fair play? Says Ald. Look, I'm not a Chelsea fan. I can find that out for a future show, but I think Chelsea's financial situation very, very quickly is different to Manchester United because they had a transfer ban, which meant they didn't spend anything in one summer. And there is certainly something about financial fair play taking into account your last 3 years. So I don't know. Plus, they're buying players over an 8-year deal as well. 30 million for Scott Tillemans would be a great replacement, says Dexter King. I just want to talk about what Charlie says here. Dubai investors buying the United stand. Well, no. Although we're open to offers, but The United stand has always been open to offers, by the way. You know, if there is a Dubai investor out there, we've always been open to that. But the reality is, people can think what they like. There was a story a couple of days ago about Liverpool and Qatar, Qatar money, which is Abu Dhabi is Man City, Qatar is PSG, I think. So I don't know how this works. Saudi Arabia is Newcastle. Abu Dhabi is Man City and Qatar is PSG, and yet we keep hearing about money from Saudi Arabia and Qatar being involved in Man United or Liverpool. Now, every time you hear about a Liverpool update, Man United fans get really worried. They're like, oh my God, they're our biggest rival. They're going to get more money than us. I actually think there was a really interesting conversation I had last week with somebody, and it was if big buyers want Liverpool, like Qatari, Dubai, whatever, that will be good for Man United because we are a more valuable asset than Liverpool. We make more money, and the name is bigger. Whether Liverpool fans won't accept that, but it is true in the business world. But that might not necessarily be good for Manchester United because the right buyer, the Glazers just want to sell for the biggest bid. The biggest bid isn't always the best bid, you know, and you'll find that in life. You know, the biggest offer is not always the best offer. The best offer is the best offer for you. And from the Glazers' point of view, the best offer for them is obviously the biggest offer, but that's not going to necessarily be the best offer for us. I suspect that Liverpool will get bought by some very, very wealthy buyers because that's the sort of exit plan that FSG have. Look, I'd love to give an update on United sale, but ultimately you just end up twisting yourself in relation to we're mushrooms being fed shite, really. We're mushrooms in the dark. We've got no idea what United are going to do, and ultimately the only people who know what's going to happen are the Rain Group and the Glazers, and really it's just about what the biggest bid is. They've got no, when you think of it like that, they've got no other incentive other than how much money they can make out of this club, which they've been doing for 17 years. There was somebody a few weeks ago like, I think the Glazers will want to leave the club in good hands because they've been such bad owners for 17 years. They'll want to leave a gift to the fans. And I was like, oh yeah, for 17 years they've been taking dividends. They've not touched the ground. You know, it's all been about making money. And then on their final payday, they're going to go, actually, let's sell it on the cheap to somebody that's going to really rebuild this football club. They're going to sell it to the highest bidder, and it won't matter to them who it is. The highest bidder they can get away with, that's where it's going. Mark, what watch do you wear for an evening out? Tagir, Amiga or Breeling? I wish, Alistair, I bloody wish. And let's have a look at some of your chats here as well. Mark, what about Polina from Fulham? Looks fantastic. Not going to happen in January, Imperial X. There's a rumour that United are being sold to Dubai investors for $6 billion, says Charlie. I can't stop the rumours. Nobody can. But United are not going to sell to one person. Listen to the updates and take them on board. Final bids, middle of February. United, the Glazers will assess those bids then. Maybe it will be Dubai, but we're not going to be confirmed as going to a Dubai owner in the next few weeks. It just won't. Garnacho needs a contract. Jack, as far as I'm aware, Garnacho is under contract, and in fact I can confirm this for you. I don't know why people keep getting their knickers in a twist or their pants in a twist, or maybe they don't wear pants, I don't know. They keep getting obsessed about this Garnacho deal, of which Man United are negotiating, but his contract doesn't expire until 2025. So just educate yourself. Use these. Use your ears. We keep telling you this. There was a rumour that his contract's up in the summer. It's not. His contract's up in 2024. And we've got an option of another year. What's going on is his contract wage will be rubbish. It will be probably 5k a week or something like that. And he will want 100k a week. So that's what United are negotiating. But there is no urgency. People think this is a bit like what happened with Januzaj, or Pogba, where the contract runs down and they go to Juventus for free. he's under contract with this club for another 18 months and we've got the option of another year. He can't go anywhere. So just chill. He hasn't got the power in this situation at the moment. Dubai would be a very bad idea. They are bookies who... Sorry, what's this? They are bookies who depend on Abu Dhabi to bail them out of their debt, says Ahmed. Well, I don't know about the politics of that. FaZe United says he rejected a 20k a week offer. Well, I'd reject that. I think, how much would you say... Oh, God, somebody at the door. 1 minute. Just get in the chat. How much... No, I think someone else is going to get it. How much would you say that Garnacho is worth at the moment? How much would you give him as a contract? Because really, it's a contract that you're going to look to be going for maybe 5 years. It's going to be developing to a first team player. So I think 20k a week is an absolute disgrace. I've got to agree. I think if you give Garnacho 20k a week, that's an absolute disgrace because you're trying to get him. And look, you know what? We won a Manchester derby because of him. I know Rashford scored the goal, but it was his creativity. I was speaking about Garnacho, and I've got some quotes from Veghorst to bring you as well. I was speaking about Garnacho to Ben Foster yesterday. It was off camera. We were having a chat with some of the crew. We were talking about Garnacho, and we were both saying how the great thing about Garnacho is he makes things happen all the time. Every time he comes off the bench, he makes things happen. Every time he starts, he makes things happen. And what I mean by that is sometimes he misses a chance. Sometimes he overruns it to the touchline, but he makes things happen. Now, you contrast that with Alanga, who is consistently not making anything happen. You contrast that with Anthony, who's got this huge price tag and huge expectation. He scores goals, but he doesn't really do what Garnacho's doing. I think he will, but he doesn't at the moment. I'm not digging out Anthony. I think Anthony's fantastic. But what I am doing is saying that Garnacho produces more than any other of our wide players, bar Marcus Rashford at the moment. So yes, he's a kid, and yes, we want to give him a new contract. But you've got to be realistic with that contract. And also, if he signs a contract, like David says, 75k a week. I agree. I'd give him 75k a week on a 5-year deal, with the expectation that you can we'll review it in 2 years. Because if you give him 20 grand a week and he becomes a first team regular, he's on half of what someone like Brandon Williams is on. Brandon Williams is on 50k a week. I mean, that's got to be a starting point. Brandon Williams got a 5-year deal on 50k a week. So if I'm Garnacho's agent, I'm like, don't dare put me on anything near what Brandon Williams is on, because let's be real, he's an attacker for a start and he's playing in the first team. So I would say 75k a week is what you've got to give Garnacho, and he'd probably sign it. So yeah, I'd probably give him that, to be honest. I think 75k a week. But just to clarify on Garnacho, some people get very concerned that he's out. I keep seeing it all the time. Oh, we're going to lose Garnacho. How are we going to lose Garnacho? He's under contract till 2025. What's the year? 2023. Not going to happen. Not going anywhere. Aziz says, for Garnacho, contract 50k with potential 100k were based on performance-based conditions, says Aziz. Can I just remind a few of you as well? I know after the matches, I do my match reaction, and then we've been doing these new shows in the studio. We've had like Ricky on, Beth, Kev, Faz, there's Nuruddin. We've got a new show at 4 o'clock today in the studio, another panel thing like that. So if you're coming home from school, college, you're in work, you're coming home from work, don't forget to give it a watch live in the studio with the panel at 4 o'clock. I'm really enjoying those shows. To be able to bring that to United Stand, I love it. It's like a completely, because it's so me intensive, and I know I'm brilliant, and I personally agree with people who go, well, when Goldbridge is not on, it's crap. I'm joking. But on a serious note, after my match reaction, I'm sort of like, I've just done a watch along, I've just done a match reaction, and I want to watch something that's good conversation about Man United, and I've really enjoyed the studio shows. It's like, it's almost weird to me that it is part of the United Stand. So make sure you watch it at 4 o'clock. We've also got the press conference reaction at about 1:30, 1:45 for the Crystal Palace game. Did you know that about Alvaro Fernandez on loan at Preston North End? He came in with Garnacho, says Liam. Yeah, he's doing very, very well. Very, very well. Really, really well. Fernandez is doing well at Preston. Ethan Laird's doing well at QPR. Mejbri's doing reasonably well at Birmingham. So, we've got Ahmad at Sunderland as well. There's some good young players coming through. And look, there's Mainu, Gore, McNeil, Hugel. There's so many good young players. I can't name them all because there's so many. But yeah, look. And I think finally, if I'm being blunt, Ten Hag is the right man to develop young players. He wants to do it. Solskjaer was not. Mourinho was not. So we've got a bright future on young players, but they do need time. They're not ready now. And what I would say about young players is none of those players realistically is going to go into the first team next season. In fact, Garnacho's a good example of that, because Garnacho, who is sporadically, quite regularly playing for the first team, he'd be the only player that can go into the first team next year regularly. Mark, poor Charlie was trolled yesterday morning with his bedhead. Give him a shout out from me, says Paul. He had a good story yesterday about Tillemans as well. Should we recall any players on loan? Love the stream, says Aziz. Well, thanks for the support, mate. For the reasons I've just said, I would try not to recall people from loan because they're doing really, really well. Really, really well. They're doing really, really well. And you don't want to stunt that development just to stick them on the bench. It's the Palestri dilemma, isn't it? I think if you sent Palestri to Sunderland, he'd tear it up as well. And his development would go through the roof. But he's sort of being kept here to, maybe get 5 minutes here and there. I think Alanga would develop that much more if he was on loan as well. Do you think that Palestri should be given a chance as Ethan? It's hard to get a chance at the moment because there are so many good players performing, and obviously Sancho's going to come back. But look, I'm not going to sit here and say I don't want to see Palestri given a chance. I think he's a fantastic player, and I like the way he plays. I think if Palestri was under Bernardo Silva, I think if Palestri was under Pep Guardiola, he'd have played. I think he's a Pep player. I think Palestri is a Pep player. He's got that low centre of gravity. He can run at people. He can find a pass. He reminds me of a Bernardo Silva, of a David Silva. Yeah, I like Palestri. I think he's a Pep player. I really do. I'm not saying Pep wants him, but I think he's that sort of a player. Phil Foden, these low centre gravity players. Good player. Anyway, got a couple of quotes for you from Veghorst. He says, of course, I looked into the ones shirt numbers that are free or available. 2 and 7 will make 9, of course, a striker's number. I had a feeling with it. Of course, when I came here, I heard about it. It was Alex Tellers' number. He got loaned out now. I had to ask him if that was okay, so I said that was for me important, and then in the end there was no problem, so thanks to him also. So obviously 2 and 7 is 9, the number 7 is free. I'm absolutely ecstatic he's not going to wear the number 7 shirt. We've had some players in the number 7 shirt that we never should have had in the number 7 shirt, and I really don't think Wout Weghorst on loan from Burnley would be somebody that we should put in a number 7 shirt. And that's absolutely no disrespect to him, but there's players in our first team I wouldn't put in the number 7 shirt. Now, I don't really want to say who those players are because it's disrespectful, but I think the number 7 shirt is for a select few. You wouldn't put Anthony in the number 7 at the moment because it's just too much pressure. He might be able to take it in 2 years, but you wouldn't put him in it. You wouldn't put Anthony Martial in the number 7 shirt, and I like Martial, he's a good player, but you wouldn't put him in the number 7 shirt. It's an iconic shirt, and you don't put a Burnley loanee on in that. So there was some people talking about Weghorst being the number 7. I don't know whether it was a joke. I don't know whether they're serious, but yeah, no way. And I hope Weghorst tears it up. I hope he's absolutely fantastic. I really do, but not in the number 7 shirt. Damon says, what are your thoughts on getting Osman or Palhinha? Damon, I hear a lot of people talking about Palhinha, and it's not a player I think about. I remember when he was at Sporting Lisbon and we got linked to him, and I think he's an interesting one, but I don't. Maybe in the summer, but I've not really heard anything about that. Just talking about Garnacho, actually, there was an update coming in from Miguel Delaney, who is a bit like that when it comes to United. The new contract put in front of Garnacho is unsigned. The players' reps have said an offer of 20 grand isn't enough, and that doesn't reflect his growing status in the team. Garnacho is understood to be on £7,000 at the present. I mean, to be honest with you, if there's any truth in that, United continue to be very disappointing, and that's putting it lightly, in their negotiation department. I mean, just give me the job. I'll do it part-time. I'll do the United stand, and I'll still do contract negotiations. I mean, do they have no idea about football? 20 grand a week for Garnacho. It's just miles off. It's not even halfway there. And I don't want to be defending greedy agents, but that is completely and utterly abysmal. 20 grand a week for Garnacho. Where do we find these people who negotiate our deals? I mean, how do they keep a straight face? 20 grand a week for a player that is scoring in the first team, creating in the first team, and he's only just getting started. He's clearly going to get better and better and bigger and more confident and more developed. 20 grand a week. I mean, I very rarely would come down on the side of the player, but I'm on the side of the player there. That is abysmal. That is an abysmal offer. And you know what? If there was any truth in it, and we don't know whether it is, it just gets your back up. It gets the agents back up. It gets the players back up. And ultimately, that bid represents Manchester United. Now, it doesn't represent me, and it doesn't represent you, and it doesn't represent Ten Hag, but it does represent Manchester United. And you don't want to be annoying a player and an agent and making them feel devalued, because that's why a player leaves. Got to get better at this. We've got to get better at this. I love the show. Thanks, Mark. We're all hoping for De Jong. Would you replace would you replace him for Casemiro at the moment? Says Tarmo. No. Casemiro and De Jong in the midfield together would be absolutely incredible, absolutely fantastic. I don't know whether that ever was the plan. I don't think we had the money for De Jong and Casemiro. I think we would have got De Jong and not got Casemiro. But I think if De Jong was available in the summer, Ten Hag would go for him. And I think you would play him next to Casemiro. And I think you would have a midfield two there, which would be absolutely fantastic. And you'd still keep Eriksen. I mean, look, what I'm trying to say is if our midfield options next season were Casemiro, Eriksen, Bruno, De Jong, we'd still be too short, but I'd probably keep Fred and get rid of McTominay. So if we had Casemiro, De Jong, Fred, Eriksen, Bruno, and we got rid of McTominay, and then we brought a young player in maybe, I'd be very happy with that. That'd be a very balanced midfield. Casemiro, Eriksen, De Jong, Fred, Bruno, and then a young player. I'd like that as balance. But you know what? I'd like Casemiro, Enzo Fernandez, Fred, Eriksen, Bruno. I'd like Casemiro, Bellingham, Fred, Eriksen, Bruno. And the thing is, I know I've said I'd get rid of Fred. Garnacho in the future is the future number 7. Hopefully, Ethan. I know I said I'd move Fred on, but remember where I would like Fred to be. Casemiro's a starter. Your new midfielder, whether it's Fernandez, Bellingham, De Jong, is a starter. Eriksen is sort of a starter. Bruno is a starter. And then Fred is very much a rotational player. I like that role for Fred. What I don't want is what Ollie days, McTominay and Fred are starting. You know, that Fred is a rotational player that you know can come in and do a job. Sort of like a Phil Neville, really. You know, he just comes in and does a job in a big game when you need him, like he has done this season. And, you know, you can rotate and trust him. I think I'd like that. I think I would like that. But, yeah, a lot of people talking about Donny. I'm not going to put any... I mean, Donny will be here next season, you're right. I don't talk about it because I know that pisses people off, because a lot of people had a downer on Donny. They had a Donny downer. But Donny might not be back playing football till Christmas. Like, let's be real. He might not play again till Christmas. He might not play again till August. So... I think with Donny, you've just got to... I mean, what are the chances of Donny having a career at United now? I mean, I said it was 20% before his injury. I've got to say now, it's... I'd love Donny to turn it around, and I agree with Makesh. I've always liked Donny, and I do like him, but yeah, it's just... He's like Potter on Sneak. Potter at Chelsea's had ridiculous bad luck. Donny is 10 times that. He's just yeah, so I don't do that. But McTominay's a player to cash in on. As I said last night, and I'll say it again this morning, there is genuine interest from certain types of club to give Man United 30 million for McTominay. I mean, what do you think McTominay's worth? What do you think Scott McTominay is worth? That's a good question. 26. The thing about McTominay is everyone knows who he is, but what has he done in his career? I know he scored a couple of good goals and he's had a few good games, but in relation to his value, he probably is a £30 million player. No more, and probably not much less. I think 30 million is the right price for McTominay. And I know United might go, we want 50, but when you look at his career, there's not that many good Premier League performances. And what I mean by that is, yeah, he scored some really good goals. Some, not loads. He's never really had a good game at CDM. He's more of a box-to-box player. And if you're Everton or you're Newcastle or whoever, or Aston Villa, he's probably worth a £30 million look, but he's not worth any more than that. So there is genuine interest. I think if we're in the summer, I don't see how a deal doesn't get done. McTominay's got to want to go, and apparently he's very open to it because he wants to play, and I respect that. You can't not respect that. I think United are reluctant to let it happen in January, quite rightly. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. But I can't see it happening in January. In fact, I know it won't happen in January. Did you install those cabinets yourself, Mark? Says yeah, 20. No. Our outgoings are too high, so unless we get more income, we can't sign big in the summer, says Webster. Okay. Please do smash a like on the video, by the way, and make sure you subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. I still believe that there is an opportunity for Man United to do a loan deal or two in the next 2 weeks, by the way, as well. I know that we've now got Weghorst in and it's the 17th of January, but I do just want to reiterate that I do think there is still a chance for Manchester United to bring somebody in. Who it is, I haven't got a bloody clue. But I'll go back to what I said at the start of the video. If you tuned in late, it's worth watching the first few minutes about MOUKOKO. Very, very interesting. It's what makes this community great, because we're not journalists, but we can find things out and we can put two and two together. And I think that MOUKOKO thing's very interesting. Basically, there'll be a parting of the ways if he doesn't sign the contract. Where's he going to go? Who wants a young developmental striker? Ten Hag. Who's looking at Alanga? Dortmund. There might be something there. When's Phil Jones' peers interview? Says Chris. I don't like talking about Phil Jones. I think it's bordering on, not bullying, but pointless. Where is he? I don't think he's... we talk about Sancho not training with the first team since last October. I genuinely don't think Phil Jones has trained with the first team since April. So, 80 grand a week. And, I mean, I reckon there's... like Netflix do these series, Drive to Survive, and they've got these tennis ones. I think they could do a series on Phil Jones, the broken man. Because God knows what impact it's had on him mentally. I mean, it might not have much impact earning 80 grand a week doing nothing, but I bet it has. But on a serious note, we gave him a 5-year contract when he'd been injured for the most of the previous 2 years. And in the 5-year contract, tell me, how fit is he? I guarantee in the last 5 years, he might not have been fit for a year. I'm guessing, but that is amazing. Absolutely amazing. Anyway, we won't dwell on it too much. Yeah, hopefully Sancho will be back training this week with the first team. We will see, but he's not at the moment as of yesterday. Thanks everyone for watching. I'm back live with you at 1:45. Reaction to Erik ten Hag's press conference for the Crystal Palace game. Hopefully we'll get a bit of an update on Martial. 4 o'clock, we're in the studio with a panel debate show. Don't miss that. I think you'll really enjoy it. And then 8 o'clock, it's me live again. So lots to get into on the show today. I've got a cracking video coming up on That's Football at lunchtime as well. Watch that. And FIFA, Man United career starts at 3 o'clock today. Looking forward to it. Take care, everyone.